Saddle up your horses.
Pitter patter, let's get at her. It is another episode of the Manely Broncos Podcast, and we are excited to have one of the other guests that we will have numerous times in terms of Bronco fans. We will be doing a couple of that, obviously, in the off season, and we are joined by Bobby Stevens. He was actually on the stream previously. I want to say it was like last year. And so we are delighted to have him in the house. Obviously, it is the twosome of both Cameron and Brandon and I. Matty's been trying to get over a fever for, I want to say it's about a week. So hopefully we can get him back here shortly. So there's certainly going to be a lot to talk about. And we are excited to certainly.
Thanks, Graham.
There's certainly going to be fun times in terms of getting the chance to talk about the Broncos. And so Bobby is actually the first guest of many that are going to be Bronco fans that are going to be on the podcast. Actually, John, Super Bowl and John, for anybody that doesn't know, was on the podcast last year, I believe, and he will actually be on the show near the end of June. From all reports, per sources, that he will be on the show.
Trust me, bro.
Right. That he will be on the show at the end of June. So, gentlemen, Bobby, let's start with you. How are you doing, buddy?
I am doing well. Thank you guys again for letting me be part of the show.
Brandon?
You know, we're at that weird stage of like now there's no minicamp because they ended it early, and I just need some kind of football in my life, and it's just not happening. So I'm coping. But I have golf. I have golf back, thankfully, which I don't know if that's better or worse. But
I think I have an explanation why Sean Payton decided not to have practice and the minicamp early, and I think it's because The Boys comes out tonight. So I think he wanted all the Bronco players to basically binge the first 3 episodes of The Boys. So the explanation makes a lot of sense, I would think. You're muted, by the way, Brandon, which is a lovely sight.
I keep hitting a button and it just mutes me. I have 3 episodes left of Gen V, so I'm not caught up enough yet to watch The Boys. But I don't know if I actually have to watch the rest of it. We'll see.
Yeah.
I keep like watching it and then falling asleep, and then I don't know what happens. Then I have to start the episode over again. Not that bad, man. I feel old.
But it makes a lot of sense.
Today. It's hard.
But it makes a lot of sense. I mean, hey, have the what is it? Have them all binge the first 3 episodes of The Boys. See, the thing here is Bobby is not actually here. See, we even got a thumbs up from this. Bobby is not actually here in person. I could actually walk out, go to the kitchen. He's not over here.
No,
So
I'm not here, Josh. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I am at home right now.
How do we know that this is Josh? He might be an AI.
It could be his variant. It's true.
Skynet.
Yeah. Skynet.
Deadpool is a GOAT movie. Yes.
Yeah,
I am praying that Deadpool is the movie that saves the Marvel universe. What's up, Balbani? What's up, buddy?
Okay, completely unrelated in every possible way. Have either of you watched the Acolyte yet? Because I've heard things.
I have not yet.
It's very rough. It's very rough from what I've heard.
That's what I heard. That's why I don't really want to watch it. So I was just curious. Anyway, Deadpool is good.
So let's first things first, everybody. Make sure you comment on the show, and if you are first-time watchers, first-time listeners of the Manely Broncos podcast, hit that subscribe button over at the MHRT Network, and make sure you click a follow. First things first, make sure you click a follow for Bobby. And before we get started, Bobby, where can people follow you first?
See right there, that's my formerly Twitter, but now X, B_Stevens93. Well, Twitter, I'll say Twitter then. Just trying to be more.
It's like Ball Arena, Pepsi Center.
I will always say Pepsi Center, and I will always say Mile High Stadium. I don't care what the name is anymore. Right. And Coors Field's never going to change, but if they ever do, it's still going to be Coors Field to me. So on Twitter, B_Stevens93. That's my handle.
So
not as a Pepsi Center until they do what I've been asking them to do, which is change it to Ball is Life Arena, and then we'll be good.
I don't know if this happened the last time you were on, Bobby, but one thing that I like to do when we have Bronco fans that are on is I like to have them give a bit of a history lesson for the audience about how they became a Bronco fan. And I feel like your story specifically is interesting because you grew up not in Colorado. And I think that some of those stories are actually kind of fun to listen to. And so for anybody that does not know, he was born in Rockford, right? No, Rockford, Illinois. So once you tell everybody how you actually stumbled and became a Bronco fan.
Yeah, so originally I was born and raised in Rockford, northern of Rockford, in small towns. I was originally a Bears fan at the time, and then with my family telling me that we're moving to Colorado, like 14 years ago, really. Before we moved, I started paying attention to the Broncos and looking at their star players and watching some games and stuff like that, and starting to be more of a Bronco fan. And now since then, I've been pretty much, sorry, Bears fans or the Bears, but I'm officially now Broncos since I moved here than a Bears. So that's pretty much the history of right now why I became that.
I didn't know you had any connection to the Bears, like at all.
No, dude. I mean,
that's like, I'm sorry, but that's like just being stuck between.
It's tough, and I mean,
like,
I like them more.
This isn't bad enough. Like, there's got to be something worse.
No, I mean, I liked them more with Urlacher and Hester on there, but that was it, really.
Yeah.
And then once they got away, then I was like, okay, well, because I still kind of pay attention from time, but now I'm like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter to me anymore.
Yeah.
But I like how Sayer, by the way, just calmly just slides in there,
boys.
Like no one's even paying attention. By the way, speaking of Chicago,
I'm paying attention.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Chicago, it's funny you're talking about Chicago sports, and Sayer is obviously a huge Chicago Cubs fan. So the timing could not even have been more impeccable.
Hey, I'm still a Cubs fan too. So
yeah.
I mean,
every Cubs fan I've ever met actually has never been to or lived in Chicago. So
no, I had family, but that was it. I mean, I went to Wrigley once when I was a kid.
Frauds.
Only one time.
Frauds. Just kidding. I have no allegiance to baseball because the Rockies are stupid. So anyway, I didn't know that. That's cool. It's good to know. I mean, are you like still a slight like Bears fan? Are you excited for Caleb Williams?
I mean, I am. I mean, yeah. I'm not much of a Bears fan anymore, but I am excited for a turnaround for the Bears. And I think with Caleb, that's really, really going to hopefully pump up their momentum.
Did you guys see what Romo Dunze said?
What?
He basically was like, I went to school with Puka Nacua. I'm coming for that record. Good luck, man.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't exactly the Washington offense that you may have been a part of in college, where you'll actually end up with probably 1,600 yards and well over 10 plus touchdowns. Let's take a dive. Let's take a dive a little bit into Broncos Minicamp. Obviously, for anybody that are previous listeners and listen to the 5280 podcast, it's very likely that I regurgitate some of the information and some of the stuff that I was talked about on 5280. However, if you guys did not get a chance to tune into the 5280 podcast, this is going to end up being new information for you from Bobby, from Brandon, and from myself. It's going to end up being some new information for you. So it's gonna be a lot of fun getting the chance to talk about minicamp. So, all right. First things first, it's probably worthwhile talking about the quarterback position, and I would leave too, based on the quarterback position, Brandon. I mean, I would 100% leave too. With talking about the Broncos quarterback position.
Dude, my allergies are killing me. My bad. I had to go get a facial tissue in the Kleenex brand. But also that was my initial reaction. Until we drafted Bo Nix because he's gonna win 8 Super Bowls. Super Bows. Hold on.
Super Bowl. There, yeah. There you go.
We've heard it many times, but I believe.
Yeah, we are Bo leavers. We are. What's the? Actually, I used to use this because we have some Cubs fans in the house. I used to use this with Dexter Fowler when he was with the Rockies, and I would use it with Dex knows, like Dexter Fowler, Dex knows. So obviously Bo knows, right? Bo knows.
Okay, what's the story of that? Because I've seen that like 40 times, and I don't know what it is. The Dexter knows. Like I've had friends that have like multiple shirts that say that. I don't even know what it is.
I actually have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Hey, don't forget one more
bonus.
Rocky. Don't forget one more Rocky player went to the Cubs was Cargo.
That's right.
He was there for a little bit.
He was there for like 2 months or something, like a very short while.
But still.
Yeah. But the quarterback position, Bo Nix, Jarrett Stidham, Zach Wilson. People are making a whole big ordeal about the whole Zach Wilson type of thing.
Is it just because he ran with the ones? Is that the only reason? Like twice?
Yeah, basically. He ran with the ones today.
Doesn't mean shit.
But I mean, like, and this has been a consistent theme, even dating back to, even when they were in rookie minicamp with Bo. But I mean, the two steady quarterbacks, or maybe the most steady, has been Jarrett Stidham, followed neck and neck then by Bo Nix, and then you have Zach Wilson. We'll start with you, Bobby. Should that be a cause for concern, or is that a actual thing that actually is good to hear from the Broncos quarterback point of view?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a competition regardless of those three. Unfortunately today was Zach. I mean, he had the most incompletions during practice, and unfortunately Bo threw his first interception, which people are already freaking out about it, saying that it's going to be a downfall for us once again, but I don't think so. I mean, Jared threw 2 touchdown passes today. He was the only one that did it, which I think he won the QB competition for the day. But it's like, what I like to tell people is like what Allen Iverson said in his interview, it's just practice. Like, this is not a game. This is not a playoff. This is not the Super Bowl. This is just practice. And I always think it's practice to be a way to avoid that situation that happened during the game. So he threw one. Okay, cool. Zach incomplete a bunch. I mean, Zach is still fresh. And I think, I don't know how his relationship was with the Jets, but with Aaron being injured, I think it kind of showed him a little bit. And there's a reason why the Broncos wanted Zach, and I think they're trying to prove that right now, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
What was the quote that we spent like 2 months working on that trade?
It was
for like a sixth.
Yeah.
Really?
It's funny. It's funny because like I was actually on Graham does a show that he works on called the Rocky Mountain Blitz and a bunch of other shows on the Colorado Connection. I was actually on that show, and I mentioned that, Brandon. I was just like, so they clearly saw something beyond the fact that, in terms of trade compensation, because we are talking about the Zach Wilson trade. So it took you 2 months to come up with compensation for for Zach Wilson. Like, so I think it goes way beyond and into the X and O's with Zach Wilson than just like, oh, they needed to get the compensation right. Because I would venture to guess the Jets weren't exactly, having a hard bargain, if you will. But what about you, Brandon, in terms of the quarterback position?
I mean, look, I'm kind of in the camp of like, it's Bo's job to lose, and I think it's going to take a lot for him to lose it. Like all this stuff about, Zach Wilson is what's that? Allergies are horrible. Of like, Zach Wilson's going to be the starter. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. What did you say?
I said I'm going to be gifting that for sure.
Because I sneezed?
Yeah.
Hey, I was nice enough to say bless you, Brandon.
I'm sorry, I'm a human.
Human.
What was I saying? Oh, they're like, Zach Wilson's going to be the starter. No. That's how it works. Everyone's going to run with the ones. It's minicamp. There's got to be competition, but like, we know who Jarrett Stidham is, and I'm sorry, but we likely know who Zach Wilson is. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of thrilled for him to get another chance. I mean, by all accounts, New York is in every way a horrible, horrible situation. But look, I just don't think that that's going to be turned around. Like, it's going to be Bo. There's a reason that we drafted the 12th pick. Like, I'm just so sick of the QB situation that it's making me sneeze.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, to me, it's Bo. Like, it'll be interesting to see like how the rest of this goes. Like, oh, he threw a camp interception. Who cares? Didn't Patrick Mahomes throw like 20, like his rookie year? Like, that was the news out of Chiefs camp is like, oh, he's just like can't stop throwing picks. So yeah, I mean, I honestly think it's people grasping for straws at content in June of the offseason, and I can't really blame them, but because it's like it's rough out here. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's not really like it's Bo. Like, I don't even know if I think it's really Zach Wilson and Jarrett Stidham competing to see which one's going to be on the roster as the backup. I don't even know if the other one stays. I mean, Zach Wilson might because like we traded for him, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, and obviously Big Mike mentions this, and he mentioned that I want to say it was today or yesterday, where he didn't have like an expected date, but he had a gut feeling of like when he would want to name a starter. And I think just when you look at the quarterback competition in general, like this overall isn't really all that surprising to me. You know, like this really isn't all that surprising. And actually, if you're actually just in the Zach Wilson camp for just a second, I'm fine with the way things are going because, like, I would much rather him stick on the roster, them carry 3 quarterbacks, but just like him stay on the roster. I mean, if he plays just awful to where he can't stay on the roster, then you got to cut him. But I think that my thing with Zach is like, I would much rather him be the sponge and be someone who soaks up the entire playbook, with Sean Payton, and then come next year, basically be the one who's, Stidham at that point, like the incumbent who was, where Stidham was this year, where he's got a much better feel of, where things are in year 2 under Sean Payton and everything. So like, I think it's better. And then obviously for Bo Nix, like there's a reason why they drafted him. Like it seems very certain that it's going to end up being probably him as the week 1 starter. But I do think that there will come a point where actually with Stidham playing really well right now, I think it's going to end up boding well in the fact that the quarterback room in general, I will feel much better about knowing the fact that the quarterbacks that are in that room were handpicked by Sean Payton. And at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. And then you put the layer after that, and they're going to end up running the offense that Sean had a vision for and an idea for the moment he stepped foot in Dove Valley. So I like the idea of that. And just, again, the fact that just it's going to end up being a much better quarterback vision idea from Payton than in the past, where he was just kind of stuck with Russ and he had to kind of make do with what he had with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I was going to add something. I can understand why people are kind of a little nervous about what's going on. It's just because I think, our last good season was 2015, 2016, winning this. And also the last time we got a good quarterback, in my opinion, was Lynch in 2016. He was our round 1. I mean, I know in 2017 we had like a round 7 pick, but we didn't do anything with him.
Wow.
So I can see why, like, everybody's getting a little Good.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
Sure. Around one.
Just
pick.
messing with you.
Around one quarterback pick.
No, I totally get what you mean.
know what I mean?
Spending high resources. Yeah.
Right. I know.
Other than trade.
I'm praising, but I'm not really praising.
I'm just fucking with you.
No, you're good, man. You're good. But I can see why everyone's freaking out about it and seeing the difficulty that both like our round pick for this year and a trade that they're not that okay. Again, one interception. Whoop-de-doo. That's fine. That's what practice is all about. Like I said before, where that's what we're trying to do is avoid it. So I think people just, we just need to be patient and wait and see what happens. I mean, it's going to improve for sure, and we can't predict the future. But I mean, it'll be fine. We'll be all right.
Well, and I think that what is really worth bringing up here is this is the first time in 8 years where we actually are getting good commentary regarding the quarterback position. I don't really mean to bring too much PTSD in terms of the quarterback room that we've had in the past, but specifically, you mentioned Paxton
Bobby
Lynch.
already said Paxton Lynch. You're fine.
Yeah. But Lynch and then obviously Drew Lock, the whole Drew Lock experience and then the Lynch experience are similar in that they just were not ready. I mean, for case in point, Vic Fangio, when he came in and he was describing Drew Lock as a quarterback, he said we got to figure out whether he's a quarterback. Like he's a pitcher right now. We got to figure out if he's a quarterback, right? And to use it even a step further, you're hearing some of that same stuff a little bit with Drake May and New England. And that's a cause for concern. If you're a Patriots fan, you certainly want to look at things objectively. But from the Broncos fans' point of view, they've heard that time and time again when it came to the quarterback position. So this is the first time really where, this really is the first time where you can confidently feel like the Broncos have something. Maybe you want to kind of temper the expectations because based on what we've seen in the last 8 years. But yeah, I'm very excited, and I'm definitely a believer in the idea of Nick's a quarterback and what he could possibly do. Nice little conversation there about the quarterback position. But moving on, one of the players that it seems like has really stood out so far is one of our positional battles, Brandon, and that actually is the running back position. And the takeaway within that running back position is that Javonte is not the best running back in the room. Samaje Perine's not the best running back in the room. Audric Estime is not the best running back in the room. Well, for one, he's recovering from his leg injury, his thigh injury, or
his knee scope that he had.
His knee scope. Blake Watson, unfortunately, this is a Blake Watson fan podcast, but he's not the best running back in the room. Jaleel McLaughlin is the best running back in the room, based on some of the reports that are out there right now. How are we supposed to interpret this? Because I feel like for Brandon, I feel like there's one way to look at it that's very hot take, if you will, and that is if there's ever a scenario where Perine and Javonte are both off the roster in 2024, it's if Jaleel McLaughlin is having like the camp of his entire life.
Well, I mean, it is camp. We talk about practice, but we'll see. I mean, I feel like, what was the quote? I think it was Cecil. It's a little bit of a, I don't know if this was like an actual quote. I can't find the source to see if he actually said this, but it was like, is Javonte even making the team? Like, as a response to like how good Jaleel McLaughlin has looked, which, come on, that's a little bit much. But no, I mean, I love the news that Jaleel is showing out because, yes, again, to quote, here, hold on 1 second. Let me see here. Who dropped this? Who dropped this tidbit in here? Where is your quote? Here we go. Everybody's good against air. Sir Charles Barkley, Josh Sherman, said in the Michael Scott meme. I mean, it is camp. I can't really. I mean, you can take stuff away from camp. Not saying you can't. And obviously, speed is speed no matter where it happens. But I'm excited by the Jaleel McLaughlin news. I think McLaughlin saw tweets about Watson. Yeah, he probably listened to how much I loved him, and he was like, "Hold my beer."
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I the biggest thing to me that I feel like we are missing or have kind of been missing in the running back room, which makes me really excited to hear how good Jaleel has been, is kind of that speed, like the breakaway speed, in my opinion, because Javonte has been kind of the bruiser, the bully. Audric Estime has the build of a bully in a kind of a similar vein. I mean, he's faster than I think people give him credit for, but like he is huge. Like you can only be so fast at that size. And we've had like pass catchers, we've had the blocking running backs, but I feel like we haven't really had like who was the last true speedster? Because I have one name coming to mind, and it's kind of insane to me that
I
it's
do too.
that far back.
I'm just nervous to say it.
Is Philip Lindsay a speedster?
I wasn't thinking Philip.
I don't know. Who are you thinking?
I was thinking CJ.
Is CJ a speedster?
No, he's more like a power.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm like, who was the last?
Well, what about?
I mean, he's fast, but
Moreno?
Actually,
No.
I think it was probably Ronnie Hillman.
it might have been Ronnie Hillman. But even Ronnie Hillman was, which rest in peace.
It might have been Ronnie, because I think we all want to say Philip Lindsay, but like there wasn't.
Ronnie Hillman still was like 200 pounds.
There really wasn't a lot of longevity, I feel like, with Philip, unfortunately. If there was.
Oh, I know. I never meant like longevity, but just like speed. Like who was the last real speedster in the backfield? Because I'm kind of honestly struggling a little bit.
I was saying also no Sean Moreno. I mean, I think he had.
But I think we're talking about like people that would be like maybe like a Darren Sproles to a degree, like a someone that is like just an absolute blur, within the backfield.
Yeah, like Melvin Gordon, not really, right? Philip Lindsay, like that's the name I already mentioned. Devontae Booker was never really that guy. He didn't even do much. No. CJ Anderson was kind of just the bowling ball. Moreno, it might have been.
That's why I'm thinking Hillman.
Really. But like again, even Hillman was big. Like we really haven't had the speed guy. And I'm excited to see the speed guy. Go ahead.
Wasn't even Correll Buckhalter, and Buckhalter was
Self and Young Bell. Yeah.
D'Angelo Henderson, maybe
Tatum Bell.
Henderson might actually be a good one.
D'Angelo Henderson, yeah. I mean, D'Angelo Henderson just kind of was like shorter CJ Anderson.
But so that's the thing is like I think
Clinton
really
Portis.
If you really were to choose, it probably would be Phillip. But there's really not been players like that. And I think that what's crazy is it's not just Jaleel that's on the roster is who we're talking about either now. Like we're talking about Blake Watson. I think that so this idea that Jaleel reportedly is the best in camp is like so now you're talking about a situation where
ghost of Jamal Charles.
Sorry. Well, like if you're looking at it from the standpoint of like the running back room, you will have so many more options at your disposal, right? You'll have some more options at your disposal with the way that Sean Payton runs his offense. So like he does these offensive, like not screens, but like he will run passes out of the backfield to like Alvin Kamara right back when he was with the Saints. You can have like those same type of plays with a Blake Watson, with a Jaleel McLaughlin. You get them in space now and they can hit the slightest hole, based on the blocking, and it's almost a home run threat nearly every single time. So I think they have much more at their disposal within that running back room if Jaleel and, of course, Blake Watson are able to, hit their stride come, training camp. And because it's going to make that decision that much tougher for that running back position for who's really going to stay and who's really going to go. The running back position in general is probably top 3 in terms of the top positional battles, in training camp. And I know we'll dive deeper into that, Brandon, but the Jaleel news is actually really good news for the just overall competition within that room.
One of the other names that I've seen mentioned, totally a different position group, but was kind of nice to see because we feel like he's been non-existent, was how apparently as good of a day that Riley Moss had yesterday. Apparently he's had some nice pass breakups against, I think one of them was Josh Reynolds. I think that was yesterday's camp, but I seem to see his name mentioned
more
pretty consistently recently, which is, again, it's camp, but nice to hear because he's been very much like recently, as you feel like he literally doesn't exist.
You want to hear the name, but you just really don't hear anything.
Yeah, which was nice to kind of hear about. I mean, the other guy that I haven't seen much about, but is honestly, in my opinion, kind of in a similar camp is like J.L. Skinner. Him and Riley Moss to me were kind of two of the super, super athletic, freaky guys in the defensive backfield. But I also feel like I've redrafted them and then they just disappeared immediately. Yeah, I'm a now. Who? Right? Who? Mike Jones. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, Riley Moss seems to be having a pretty nice camp. Another guy that I heard about that makes me really excited that is looking good is Tim Patrick. Timmy P is back, baby.
Yep.
TP Streets, which is nice because, I mean, okay, I'm not going to hold it against him. I know Cortland Sutton showed up, which was awesome. He looked kind of shaky. I mean, he hasn't really been practicing, so I get it. But, he had a chance to catch, a very standard – my roommate's dog's going nuts. A very standard pass and just, kind of – I think he still caught it, but he bumbled it for a minute there.
Yeah.
So hearing that Tim Patrick is back and looking good is really exciting for me because I feel like he can kind of be the consistent guy that's been in that room and knows, I mean, to some extent, the offense, even though he's obviously had that injury, which really sucks. Those injuries plural.
Yeah.
But he can kind of be that more veteran weapon for, I'm just going to say Bo because it's going to be Bo for Bo, which is nice. Very, very, very just consistent weapon. And for a rookie, I don't know if you can ask for anything more than that. For sure.
Bobby?
Yeah, no, I agree pretty much. I was going to mention Tim Patrick. I was hearing about him. I am glad Cortland's back. But like Brandon said, he did look. His route looked good, but he just couldn't really catch anything. Couldn't catch anything much. I mean, the only good one was him with Bo. But I do know. I did hear about him and Sean Payton have a little conversation this morning, a little long conversation. I was listening to Sean after the camp, so by the tone of his voice, I didn't hear anything negative or anything. So I know there's some financial stuff going on with Cortland, and hopefully we'll be able to solve it and keep him because I know he wants to stay. I just hope the people up higher are able to help him out with that.
We'll get you on, Richie. We'll get you on. But I actually
the only Canadian that Cam likes is Ryan Reynolds.
Okay, Graham. To be fair, Graham is in the chat and he's Canadian. So I mean,
I know. I said what I said. I'm just kidding. I love you, Graham. I love you. I don't know about Cameron.
Yeah, no, you'll be on, Rich. But I will say I did expect you to put, never asked me to join the show, eh? The Canadian twang. So
are you sure you want to be on the show?
It is a bit unhinged. I mean,
with Cameron just butchering Canada.
Yeah.
Oh, Canada. Anyway,
What's the South Park episode? Blame Canada.
I want to go to Canada. Actually, it's gorgeous. Canada
sound cool to go to.
Like people just treat it like basic. Like, oh, Canada is like not like it's like the was like Walmart US or something. I don't know. So someone says something really stupid about like how Canada's like just non-existent. I'm like, have you ever been to Canada? It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but
I don't know what we're talking about.
But no,
Talking about Canada right now, I guess.
we will for sure get you on though, Richie. You know, for one, I want to get your takes, obviously, but we also got to promote the Wild Wild West show and your Bronco fans. We gotta promote the best of both worlds there. So
Absolutely.
We'll get you on. But no, regarding Tim Patrick, I think that, you know, and I even said this too. As much as there have been injuries with Tim Patrick, there's a legitimate argument to be made that the real wide receiver one of this room is Patrick, not Cortland Sutton. Like, there's actually an argument, despite the injuries, that Patrick is the wide receiver one and not Sutton. And look, I get the yips a little bit, you know, with Sutton and dropping passes and everything. But when you want a new contract, for one, I don't know why you're asking for a new contract based on the fact that you have this year and next year. But like, I think that, like, I really feel like if you're Cortland Sutton and you are wanting a new contract, I would venture that you would want to, show up to practice. Like, actually show up to practice and ball out consistently, catch passes, do the things that you would actually, prove that you are that wide receiver one. You didn't exactly do that. You know, you didn't exactly do that. And clearly, he left the door open that he might actually take some days off for training camp. Like, did you guys catch that? Like, someone actually asked him, like, if he'll, you know, show up for training camp, and he basically said, yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what to say on that. I mean, I don't know. Brandon, what do you think? I can't really think of anything of a response for that.
I mean, about the contract in general?
No, his comment saying when they
his
asked
comment
him,
on
saying we'll see.
I mean, look, I don't really know. To be honest, I don't really know what else he could say, because if he says he's going to be there, then like I feel like he, in his camp or in his mind, feels like he loses his whatever leverage he has to get a new contract. And if he says he's just not going to be there, then I mean, like, that just kind of sets a bad tone in the locker room. So I don't know. It's kind of like the player version of coach speak. Like, he said what he said, like, he didn't really have any other choice, in my opinion. We'll see what happens. I don't know, like, what they're going to be able to do in terms of like working out more money for him. I do want them to do whatever it takes to keep him, in my opinion. Like, I think it's worth paying him. And like, yeah, he's had some down years, but he's also been, I'm fairly confident saying that he's been our best wide receiver in general for the past
2 years,
several years, honestly, maybe before that. I mean, Tim Patrick was kind of the runner-up, but go ahead.
Do you think if Tim Patrick was not injured, would you reconsider that decision of saying Cortland would be the best?
Well, I mean, almost only counts on horseshoes and hand grenades. Like, I can't tell you what it would have looked like if Tim Patrick was there, because he wasn't there. Like, that's the biggest thing, is availability is an ability, unfortunately, and just sucks for Tim Patrick, because I love Tim Patrick. He had back-to-back ACL tears. Like, that just sucks. But I mean, I just think Cortland's physical ability to make those ridiculous catches, as much as I love Tim Patrick, I just don't know if that's exactly Tim Patrick's thing. Tim Patrick's thing is more like, I'm just going to be your consistent guy you could go to. I'm going to get the ball for you. I don't necessarily need to moss someone. Not that he can't do it, because he can, but he's like more the consistent, you know what you're getting. Whereas Cortland Sutton, like, yes, occasionally he will have like those concentration drops, but then he'll also like have like the most ridiculous acrobatic catch or like one-hander, or like you go back and watch that like craziest receiving touchdowns of last season video that the NFL put out, and like 5 of them were Courtland Sutton, like some insane amount of them. So I stand by what I said. And I can't tell you what it would have been like if Tim Patrick was there, because Tim Patrick wasn't there, which just sucks. But yeah. One thing though, well, I'll get into that next. Do you have anything else about wide receivers or Courtland Sutton?
No, go ahead.
One thing that, like, speaking of receiver, like just receiving options, I noticed, I don't know if you guys saw this, that was like quite surprising. Did you guys see who tried out at tight end yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
Felipe Franks, the Florida quarterback, former Florida quarterback.
That's when you know you're old. Yeah, that's when you know you're old. Like, of all things, it was so random. Like, you had.
I thought I was being punked.
Yeah.
I mean, he is like 6'6".
Yeah. Well, what was it? You had Tyree Jackson, right? The quarterback from, was it Memphis? Who was like 6'6", 6'7". Apparently Memphis really likes 6'6", 6'7" quarterbacks. But like he like, I guess like he came into the NFL, didn't exactly work out, and he was trying to work out as tight end or something. Like, yeah, I mean, there's really only one that's kind of crazy as it sounds. There's really only been one really good former quarterback converted to tight end who is actually really, really good. And he actually signed with the team in the last 2.5 weeks or so. And that's Logan Thomas. So.
Yeah, I forgot Logan Thomas was a quarterback for Virginia, I think.
It was Virginia Tech. I can't remember.
I mean, hell, we need all of the competition we can get apparently in that room, because I don't know what the hell is going to happen.
It is the definition of throwing a dart. I mean, so let me ask you just to round it out a little bit with the wide receiver room and Sutton specifically. And if there was anybody that's in the chat that obviously heard this question yesterday, you don't have to answer. You guys can if you want to. But Brandon and Bobby, what are your expectations for Courtland Sutton this year? Because I saw Rich A mention, how many 1,000-yard seasons has he had? And it really is just one. It's the 2019 season, which there were 3 quarterbacks at his disposal. He ended up having, which is still crazy to me, by the way, that he had 1,000 yards that year with Joe Flacco, the ageless Joe Flacco, I should say, Brandon Allen, and Drew Lock at the end of that year. So, how many 1,000-yard seasons? Or sorry, how many wide receivers do they have on the roster that could go to 1,000 yards? And what season are you expecting for Sutton?
Well, let me first of all state, with rookie quarterbacks, it almost never happens that they produce a 1,000-yard receiver. I think the stat was like 2 out of the past 15 or something that I saw. So like, I'm not expecting 1,000 yards from him, but I would, again, pretty confidently say I would not be surprised at all if he is our best wide receiver, and I want Bo Nix to have our best wide receiver. Obviously, there's other guys in that room that I'm hoping take a step and that I'm excited for. Marvin Mims, cough. But yeah, I think Courtland Sutton could have a good year. Could he get 1,000 yards? Sure. Do I really think that'll happen, or do I even really necessarily care about the yardage? No. I want him to just be. That's a hot take.
That is a hot take.
I want to know more about this, but I do think Courtland Sutton will have a good year, in my opinion. I mean, I think if he gets 800 yards, 7-8 touchdowns, I'd be pretty happy.
Yeah. I'm hoping for a good season for him. I mean, I agree with Brandon saying that it's very rare for a rookie to have 1,000-yard season, and unfortunately, I cannot see a rookie right now doing that. But unfortunately, the way that Courtland has been with being in camp, it's going to be tough to call, but I hope that whatever he's going through will turn around and he will make big plays. And I'll just add with Tim Patrick as well, and hopefully he doesn't get injured again because we need him. And then for rookie wise, I mean, I'm kind of looking forward to see what they're going to do with Troy, because he's with Oregon, and Bo and Troy have a good relationship, so they pretty much know each other, and on the field and off the field. So I'm looking forward to that. But mainly for Cortland, I can see him starting to make a comeback and starting to be. I'm not going to say like how he was before, because age can be a difference, and as well as injuries and stuff. So I'm just really looking to see that he's going to have a decent season. It's going to help us a lot to win games.
Yeah, and I think that for me, I'm not expecting a 1,000-yard receiver. This is how you know the Courtland Sutton ceiling is really low for me. I saw it in the chat earlier, and I've basically been saying it. 700 yards, 750 yards is really my expectation for Courtland. It's just what we've seen lately. It's what we've seen in terms of Sutton and his production lately. But as far as wide receivers that could sneak in there and be 1,000-yard receivers, that's where I look into the Marvin Mims of the world. I look into the Troy Franklins of the world. I really look into the players that are just like yak monsters, if you will, for this team, and especially really good in space. And Franklin and Mims, and I think that when you look at the way that things could be operated in space on crossers and obviously deep routes, with Troy and then Marvin Mims, and especially talking about the idea that this is probably going to end up being the Sean Payton offense, I like the idea for, those types of situations to be really well-rounded for something like, a Troy Franklin or a Marvin Mims to possibly get a fair amount of those yak and all that yardage to where it's possible you're talking about it to where Mims specifically is probably going to your most likely choice to maybe of the bunch to be a 1,000-yard receiver. But it just goes to show you how low a little bit I am on Courtland in the sense of, based on what we've seen. It's based on what we've seen. He's not producing a 1,000-yard season. I think regardless if he has a really good year, I don't even think he has a 1,000-yard season just because the targets are going to end up being dispersed all across the board. So I really just don't really expect it much from Sun, which is a really good overarching solid year, if you will.
I think 1,000-yard seasons are slightly overrated, to be honest with you. I don't care how many yards you got. If you made an impact, you got first downs, and your quarterback could trust you and you got touchdowns, that's what I care about. I mean, yes, you're going to have Justin Jefferson who's going to get 1,600 yards, but that's Justin Jefferson. 1,000-yard seasons are dependent on so many things. Did you stay healthy? What's your chemistry like with the quarterback? Did they call enough plays where you were the main target? Did you get open enough? Were you able to come down with the ball? How many people are there in the offense that they're targeting? How much did they run the ball? Did they throw the ball to the running back? Did they throw the ball to the tight end? Does the quarterback run? There's so many different things that go into it. I think just having the barometer of, you didn't have 1,000 receiving yards is kind of dumb. Hot take.
Well, but I agree with you because the whole idea is to have a better offense, not, the whole idea is to have a better offense, not be a stat patter.
Yeah.
To use
it's
Andrew Perkins line.
You have the mystery box and the box that this analogy made more sense in my head, but it's the mystery box and the box that it's player A has a 1,000-yard season. It's would you rather have that one receiver ends up with 1,000 yards, or would you rather have the mystery box? The mystery box could be anything. The mystery box could be that player A has 1,000-yard season. The mystery box could be that your quarterback throws for 40 touchdowns. Do whatever is going to work for the offense. That analogy fell apart quickly because I was thinking of something else, but do whatever is going to work best for the offense, and don't just focus on, did this one player have 1,000 yards? Because who cares?
All right. So one of the other standouts, is the trenches, that the trench warfare of the defensive line. And it is It is the law firm of John Franklin Myers.
I've heard good things.
He's really played exceptionally well. I mean, and there's there's not much to be said right now, even continuing with John Franklin Myers. I mean, the guy is. You actually want to talk about adding arguably the Broncos' most consistent defensive lineman in the room, and he's not even been a Bronco. It's actually been John Franklin Myers.
There's a reason I said last week that he was pretty much already close to the whatever we announced, like indispensable or whatever we said.
Yeah, irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable.
Yeah. I mean, I love that pick because he's been Mr. Consistent. Like, there was a reason, and we'll talk about this when we have the Jets guy on when we play the Jets. But like, there is a reason why Jets fans were pissed. That Franklin Myers was actually traded, and that it was a meaningless draft pick. Like, it was like meaningless in the sense of like it was a couple years out. Like, it was 2026, right, or 2027 draft pick, and it was basically a money shed. And then, oh, by the way, this is the crazy part now. So John Franklin Myers is having a great camp. You know who's not maybe having a great camp, or I should say actually not showing up to camp right now for the New York Jets? Hassan Reddick. So it's not exactly working out well in the sense of like, man, we really wish we would have had John Franklin Myers.
Is that I haven't really seen anything about that.
He is not
doing well, or he's not there.
He's not there in the sense like he's not doing well. He's not there.
Can't do well if he's not there. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that sucks. Like, I don't know. Jets fans must be going through it.
Yeah, for sure. What were some other standouts, Bobby? I know you caught up on some of the training camp stuff, but what were some of the ones that kind of also caught your eye?
I think I kept hearing about Levi Wallace doing pretty good at camp. I think he did that interception with Bo, I think. But I heard good things about Levi. I've been hearing a lot of good things about the defense.
Yeah, I mean, the competition overall with the cornerback room, I think, is going to be a really interesting one because I think they will have a lot more versatility within that room. And, actually, I did see Ryan Edwards mention this name in the sense that we're not talking about him enough. And it reminds me so much of a past Bronco who's now doing a podcast right now with a good friend of the show, Patrick Chiotti, Chris Harris Jr. And Ryan said we're not talking enough about Jaquan McMillan. And
I also said here's a replacement.
Yeah, and I mean the way things are trending is that it feels like McMillan is going to be the type of player that the Broncos once again found another diamond in the rough, slot corner, but he's a slot corner, and then they end up moving forward with possibly him being flexible enough to be on the outside as far as an outside corner. And I think that's been some of the takeaways, that they aren't actually working him out just at slot corner. They're working him out also like on the outside as cornerback too. So there's just a lot of versatility. And now one player or a couple players we haven't exactly heard a lot of, and that would be the rookie they drafted this year in Chris Abrams-Drain, how he's doing. Mm-hmm. And obviously Damari, Michael Ojemudia-Mathis.
Fake laugh, fighting real pain. No, Jaquan McMillan, first of all, like, honestly, I think we should extend him like today because he's going to be a free agent next year, and
he's an exclusive rights free agent.
He's an exclusive rights free agent, but like,
yeah,
just give the man some money or reward him for being a baller. I know it's not going to happen, but I agree. Like, I think I feel pretty confident saying he's the second best corner on this team already. And
there's actually an argument that he goes beyond corner too. Like he's actually the second. He could be the
second best defender.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it. I think that spot's going to be taken by John Franklin Myers. Oh, anyway.
Spicy.
But no, Japan McClellan is insanely good, and we got another one. I don't know where we keep getting them, but we got another one. We crank them out of the factory somewhere. Yeah.
Really, ever since Chris Harris Jr., we've
seriously,
been, turning them out, like a factory. But yeah, there's just there's a lot I think that is going to be going on in terms of minicamp, and it's at least I would venture to guess that this doesn't really change our overall expectations, our overall team expectations, for the team. But we'll start with you, Bobby, though. Like what has been your overall expectations for this team, going into 2024, knowing the fact that, you're talking about arguably, once they get pared down to 53 and everything, but what are your overall expectations, for this team this year?
I'm hoping we get out of the slump that we've been since 2016, 2017. I'm hoping that with the draft picks that we got, it's going to pull away. And with Sean Payton's second year as head coach, I think now the team understand his tactics and understand his plan to be better. And we keep hearing him too, saying that he wants to win more and he's going to do what he can. Again, with the draft picks, I think we did really good with the draft. Definitely with Bo Nix, definitely with Troy Franklin.
At least on the surface.
And those other ones, yeah. But I'm hoping that we're just going back on the right track. I know it's going to take time, but I think with this season we're gonna have a good season this year. I think a winning season. I don't think we're going to be in. I'm not going to go all the way to saying we're going to be in playoffs or Super Bowl champions.
Super Bowl.
I can't go that far. But I'm hoping that we are not going to be last in our division. Or very low in the league. I'm just hoping that we can have a lot of wins and consistency as well.
Did it change anything for you, Brandon? I mean, like, are you kind of on your, we're 17-0 until we're not? I'm joking, but
yeah, that's where we're at. It's that phase of the off season. The slightly unhinged optimism, I think, is the best way to say that.
Yeah. By the way, I saw some stuff being commented in here. Apparently, they are doing a home run derby at Coors Field right now, and saw some conflicting things. Big Mike says was Matt Henningsen. Looked like Sutton is actually. Big E mentioned Sutton is actually winning it, but who in the Broncos could you guys actually see winning a home run derby? Because they've done this before. Like they've actually gone and hit dingers. I actually feel like if it actually, I'm not trying to pander to Big Mike, but like
I would say Quinn Miners, aren't you?
I was gonna say Quinn Miners. But like,
I was actually gonna say Quinn Miners. Let me think about it now.
Well, because like we're talking about an elite cornhole player, like I mean, like he's at least got that sneaky athleticism.
He got that dog in him.
So I don't know. Like I feel like Quinn Miners would be one of those guys. He may have the Alfonso Soriano stat line, the Mendoza stat line, but he's probably going to end up batting, probably like 40 home runs and hitting like 199 and, driving in like, almost 100 runs. What's up, Mikey?
Yeah, I was going to say Quinn Miners, and now I'm struggling to come up with another one, a different answer since you took mine.
So Mikey, since you're joining us, we're talking about home run derby, and who was going to win the home run derby. I could also
You know who would probably do really good at it, just given how freaky athletic he is, and that he's 6'5"? Drew Sanders. The reason Drew Sanders no longer a linebacker is because he's being traded to the Colorado Rockies.
Is it because he's white?
No.
I'm kidding. But no, I actually don't mind that at all. Drew Sanders, because it's funny. I was actually thinking about some people within the pass rush room, which
I almost said Jonathan Cooper or Baron Browning, but I went with Sanders because I think he's just more freaky.
Well, it's funny because and it's funny how this is coming full circle a little bit, but we were talking about the Chicago Bears earlier, and now we're talking about the home run derby. Did you guys actually see Caleb Williams in the batting cage? It is crazy to me sometimes how baseball turns possibly the most athletic players into unathletic players, like even into the batting cage. It's super wild to me. If you haven't seen the video of Caleb Williams, swinging a bat in the batting cages, it is like, it's crazy. Like, it was like watching someone who's so unathletic. Like, it reminds me a bit of like, oh, that's a good one. Lucas Kroll. I remember that. Lucas Kroll was a former baseball player. I think it was with Pittsburgh.
Oh, I didn't know that at all.
When he was at the University of Pittsburgh. So,
I can say one. I don't know if I'll get hate for it, but Russ.
I mean, Russ isn't here, but
no, but I'm just saying because he's former Rocky.
Yeah,
that can officially, yeah.
No, just kidding.
Could Bo Nix pull it off?
Fine.
I feel like Bo Nix could pull it off.
Paxton Lynch. Just kidding.
Trevor Siemian.
Honestly, Trevor Siemian probably could. He probably could. That actually wouldn't even surprise me at all.
I did hear that Surtain was there, but I can't see him. I don't know. I don't know if I can see him hitting it.
But again, if you guys have not seen the Caleb Williams video of him hitting in the batting,
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
It's actually kind of funny. It reminds me of when Giannis Antetokounmpo went to the batting cages that he tried to hit. It was like a out-of-body experience. Like, it was like, what is going on right now? And obviously Giannis is so freakishly tall and big and everything. Like, the bat looked like he was holding a toothpick. Like, it just looked like he was holding a toothpick.
I gotta find this.
But Lucas Kroll's a good one, actually. Lucas Kroll's actually a good one. But
I just watched a short of Caleb Williams in this back practice.
It is crazy, man. Like, it is crazy how
it's not bad. A little adjustment. Maybe a lot adjustment.
You're being way too generous, Bobby.
Well, it makes me think of when we did softball in my stance. It was terrible.
Well, I mean, our stance was way better than what Caleb Williams was throwing out there.
Let me see.
Just watch it.
I'm watching it.
This is like Brandon's golf.
Here we go.
Actually.
No.
And yet you don't remember the lesson.
Dude, it was like over a year ago.
You almost hit a house. Actually, no, you went over a house.
That's why I play on courses that don't have houses.
Good luck with that.
No. This is Charles Barkley's golf swing.
Dude. Hey, give the guy credit. He did improve it a little bit. But
I improved mine, and you were talking shit. So shut up.
But no, it's crazy though that how like a simple what you would think like a simple swing like that just changes people's like athleticism. It's crazy to me, how that is. But do you guys have any other final thoughts or something that you guys wanted to touch on briefly, or something we didn't actually get a chance to mention?
Those were all mine, but let's bow.
All right.
Leave.
I want to thank everybody for hopping into the chat. Obviously, like always, I want to thank every single person who was in this chat. Ray, Biggie, Mikey. We had Richie in the chat. We had Big Mike in the chat. Graham, obviously, in the chat. Babani was in the chat earlier. Josh, as always. Mr. Clipomaniac was in the chat. Thank you to every single person who was in here. Big Mike, obviously, as well. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to the MHRT network, and make sure you go and listen to all the other shows that are on the network. We with Richie, we had the Wild Wild West on just before the Manely Broncos podcast, which is on every single Wednesday, and the Mile High Symposium as well was on Wednesdays as well. Wednesdays is probably the best slot for shows. I'm just maybe biased. Anyway, so again, thank you guys so much for hopping in with us. Bobby, why don't you tell everybody where they can follow you over on X again, on Twitter. Full disclosure, people, Bobby tweets about 8 to 12 months, every 8 to 12 months a year. So if you set Twitter notifications for Bobby, the dust will actually come off and be like, oh, wow, Bobby's actually tweeted for the first time in 8 to 12 months. So just full disclosure, he doesn't really tweet all that much.
I should. I mean, not just saying because you do it, but I should probably, because I'm usually on Twitter most of the time. So, but yeah, as you see right there on the name, B_Stevens93 is my Twitter. So please leave a follow.
Make sure you follow. Brandon, you doing good?
My mic is getting unplugged, is why. I'm good.
You good? Okay. Just want to make sure.
Yeah. No, I'm fine.
Just want to make sure it's not like your golf game.
What?
Just want to make sure it's not like your golf game.
Shut the fuck
up. For Brandon, for myself, make sure you follow both he and I on Twitter at Cameron Parker PO. Follow Brandon at Brandon Miller PO. Myself, Cameron Parker PO. The show handle at Manely Broncos. We will have another show for you. Come next week. And then, as we teased earlier, we have superstar guest upcoming near the end of June, and that would be Super Bolin, or otherwise known as John. John will be joining us near the end of June. John and June. It just feels very appropriate. John and June. So again, thank you guys so much for hopping in with us. It's been an absolute blast. What now? You see?
I was just gonna say, Felipe Frank's tied in one.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Here's where Cameron goes berserk.
Yes, this is where I go berserk. Exactly. For Brandon, for myself, for Bobby, this has been another edition of the Manely Broncos Podcast.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work